Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that Surewinder is still selling amazing products. Some of you guys have been dragging your feet for whatever reason. If your shoulder hurts, do not waste time. Pull the trigger. I just bought 4 or 5 of them, and we had 2 guys out. You know how much it cost me to pay for 2 guys being out with bad shoulders? We just pulled the trigger and we said, listen, everybody's going to have one on a truck. It's mandatory. You got to use it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait till your guys go down. It's going to cost you more. Buy a Surewinder.
What's up, guys? Ryan here with Torsion Talk Podcast. And today we're going to take a little bit of a different angle. We're going to talk about your relationship with money. So I posted in one of the groups about how this has been on my mind a lot. And I've been thinking about doing a podcast on it for a while. And I've kind of held off because it's Garage Door Industry Podcast, and we try to stay like super focused on the things that we think you're going to be most interested in and stories. From the very beginning, I've always said that the goal of this podcast is to educate and entertain. So in the theme of educate and entertain, we stay in that vein, very close to Garage Door. But that post that I made about people's relationship with money took off and had a lot of interaction and people giving me positive feedback. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what I said, and then let's talk about money as a whole and what that means for a business owner or a technician. Like, how does it affect your life? What's your relationship like? That is it's a sore subject for a lot of people, and I'm not really sure why that's the case, but it's not good. And I see it a lot when it comes to business owners specifically, and I want to try to change the outlook. So I'm going to read this post real quick, and then we'll go from there. So this is me posting in the GDT owners group. I've been thinking a lot about business owners lately and their relationship with money. We either have a healthy relationship with money or a bad one. If you don't have a healthy relationship with money, I'd encourage you to improve it. Learn how money really works. Understand how and when to invest. Learn how to use loans to make more significant profits, become more efficient, and grow your business. Learn how to pay yourself and reward yourself and your hard work. Someone asked me how much money did I invest up front into my door company. My answer was around $450,000. I only used $8,000 cash, but I also cashed out some retirement money, refinanced my house, and lived on my retirement for a year. The next year made just enough to survive. I think it was like $30,000. So why did I say $450,000? Well, I left a career making almost $200,000 a year with a nice savings and retirement account. When you add all the time I didn't get paid, that what I was worth, I added it into the investment as like a sweat equity. My family struggled mightily to buy gifts for our kids for Christmas for the first 2 years. My wife and I agreed to do this, but only if she could stay home with the kids. I was the sole breadwinner. My goal when I started this venture was to draw 5 streams of income in 5 years. That was my goal. I've been studying the economy and learning trends. Approximately every 10 years, there's a major issue that corrects the market. We've been taught to buy when the market is good and sell when it's bad. I've reversed that in my life because I believe it's the opposite. I want to build generational wealth for my family. I lived in a town called Macon, Georgia when I was a kid, and my mom was a single mom working at Piggly Wiggly. We lived in a 700 square foot house. We then moved to Marietta, an apartment complex called Concepts 21. It was not a good place. My perception of money growing up was poor and I didn't understand how the wealthy used money. I do now. We sell garage doors, but honestly, we could replace garage doors with anything. The one common denominator is we accept money in exchange for goods and services. How do we get more people to give us more money so we can live the life we deserve and or build wealth for our children? Y'all are hardworking people and you deserve to live your best life. Sorry for the ramble. These things have been on my mind for a minute. Wanted to do a little brain dump here. So 47 likes, 8 comments, which is pretty active in that group. And I just wanted to say that I don't know what your relationship with money is like. I desperately want to help any way I can, and I'm by no means an expert, but I would like to share a little bit about my thought process going into this and a little bit of backstory. So let's take it back to like 2006, 2007, which wasn't great timing. Um, but I was looking into getting into investing in real estate. So I was talking to a lot of people and I met this real estate guy and he was like, "Yeah, every 10 years there's a real estate reset." And I'm like, "What do you mean by a real estate reset?" And he said, "Well, if you watch the market, there's always a huge like stock market crash, real estate crash. Something happens every 10 years." And sure enough, I went back, looked in history, and it's not like perfectly exact, but it's roughly exact. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this is great. So I was thinking I could buy some real estate. So I had a friend of mine who's flipping houses and was getting very successful at it, making quick money. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Would you be interested in partnering with me and doing a house together so we could learn? So I could learn. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So we went and we found this house and it was brand new, unfinished, probably like 85% of the way done. It needed painting, the floors need to be finished, appliances, range hood, um, and then the backyard had like a really bad landscaping needed to be done, but backyard was sloped really bad and needed some work. Fortunately, he was a grader and he agreed to grade the backyard. Um, so that took care of that. And then we did landscaping. Anyway, fast forward, 2008 hits and we go to renew our construction loan on the investment property. And the bank says, "Hey, Ryan, I'm really sorry to let you know this, but this came on quickly. We are not going to renew your construction loan. You either have to pay us in full or we're going to foreclose on the property." Now, we weren't late. Mind you, I don't know how much you know about construction loans, but every 3 months or so, we would have to go in and like, I guess, like renew it or like reclose. I think it was like every 3 or 6 months. I can't remember. And so we were like at the very end, but we were having some trouble getting it sold. A real estate agent that my partner chose was a bum and she wasn't showing the property as much as we'd like. She wasn't promoting it. She didn't do an open house like she said she would. Like it was very frustrating. So we fired her and hired another one, and we got a lot more interest. But by this time, the market had turned really fast. Banks weren't trying to give loans. And so that house foreclosed for the second time. Once when I bought it, once after I bought it. So that was a sucky situation. Although there was probably a little bit of equity in it. Um, I'm sure that the bank made out really well. However, that was a very stressful time for me. My very first investment I foreclosed on like that. So um, I go and I'm talking to one of my mentors and I'm like, dude, I don't understand. Like, he's like, you got in at the wrong time. And I'm like, okay, well, when should I have gotten in? And he's like, although that was a pretty decent deal, he's like, now's the time to get in. So I'm like, man, are you kidding me? So you're saying I just missed it by like 6 months? Um, and so and obviously there's other factors involved, right? For sure. Me and my partner that went in on that, we weren't eye to eye on the listing price. I was trying to sell it lower so we could get it out of there so I could get a learning experience. We both make like 15 grand and walk away. He wanted to do something different. He wanted to make more, and we couldn't see eye to eye on anything through that process. So it was very frustrating. Um, so you know what happened in 2008, 2009, 2010. And I just sat back and I watched the stock market and I watched the housing prices, and I just learned. Like, I learned like crazy. And I was like, man, you know what? Like, this is what it's about. Like, you got to time this thing right. And if you do, you can level up like nobody's business. So I started working really hard and trying to save money and trying to have cash. I'm working different angles here, right? So it's like I'm trying to work for retirement. So I'm saving and investing for short term, midterm, and long term. And that's the mindset that I want to try to encourage everyone to have. That is, in my opinion, the best strategy. Depending on, you also have like other factors involved, but there's times where I invest heavily and there's times where I don't invest at all. And I spent the last 10 years approximately, roughly, yeah, 2013, 2012, 13, stacking cash and learning the market. And then I was at church, it's 2017, and a buddy of mine comes up and he says, hey, have you invested in crypto? And I'm like, man, I don't want to invest in crypto. Like, I don't understand it. And he's like, oh, it's very simple. And he explains it to me. And being a technologist, like, I understood most of it, but not all of it. And so he's like, hey, there's this one coin that I'm in that I've made a ton of money on. He's like, would you be willing to invest in it? And I was like, I mean, sure, I'll give it a shot so I can learn. He's like, yeah, $300. And I was like, yeah. So we go out to my truck in the parking lot, and he walks me through like, got to open an account here and buy Ethereum, and then you got to transfer the Ethereum to this other account, and then use the Ethereum to buy this coin, and it was dirt cheap. I ended up buying it, and it wasn't like 2 weeks before that $300 was like 12 or 1300 bucks. And I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. So now, mind you, in 2015 is when I started my garage door company, and my focus was 5 streams of income in 5 years. So I was looking for things that I could do. Um, so I took out my initial investment and let the rest ride, which ended up going down dramatically, almost to zero. Um, but it was a great learning experience, right? And it didn't cost me anything because I took my initial investment out. So I started watching, paying attention, and buying crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. Like, there's quite a few of them, right? And it was like magic. 2018 hit and the market crashed. I had made a little bit of money um, beforehand, but I took a lot out and took a loss, learning experience, right? But I left some in. And what's interesting is that if you fast forward to 2020, right when COVID hit, I was primed for what I had been waiting for my like probably the last 13, 14 years. This was the moment. This is when everything shifts. And when everyone's scared, you go in. And so I took everything we had and we went all in. Um, I went in on stock. You had like stock like Carvana dropped to 30 something dollars, 32 bucks or whatever. I went big into Carvana, went up to 90 something, sold it, kept going to 300 something, but I didn't expect that. So I was out already. Um, Bitcoin, I was still in it at around 5, 6 grand, went up to 67,000, took that out. Ethereum from 400 to 4 grand, took some of that out. Um, I mean, you're talking like stupid numbers, right? Um, but but what was crazy is that um, I learned a lot about money during that time, and then people started pointing me in direction to like follow people.
Consistency in everything, including price, reliability, quality, not just quality, but great quality control. These are things that describe Somer USA. Somer's not some startup company, not one that you need to be worried about going out of business in the near future. Somer and their family of businesses are $200 million companies. They're in over 100 countries, and they have locations in 20 countries. This is a large organization who stands behind their product and works through integrity. And there's not another company out there willing to drop what they're doing and help you out like Somer. These guys are awesome. Not only have they been loyal to the Torsion Talk podcast, they've been loyal to the technicians and the owners of the companies who install their product. In my opinion, if you're not at least offering Somer as an additional option, you're cheating yourself. Listen, first-time dealers, I've got a special for you. If you buy 10 or more Somers, while supplies last, we will offer you free shipping. You have no more excuses. The prices are great. The product is amazing. Go check out Somer USA and order 10 for free shipping.
So I've been spending hours probably every day watching the economy. And one thing that's opened my eyes to is how manipulated the market is. And then it's also helped me realize how manipulated our government is and the world. Because there's trends that happen from manipulation. And and I want to be very clear. I'm not like advising you guys to go out and invest in crypto or stocks. What I'm trying to do is open your eyes to the fact that money can work for you and you can have multiple streams of income so you're not dependent on one. If you're dependent on one income, your life is like a roller coaster. When the economy's good, you're making money and you're spending it. When the economy's bad, things are tight and you're not spending it. But what if, when the market was good for a very long time, you saved or invested? And when the market goes bad, you go big and you buy. Because what happens when the market goes bad? People foreclose, stock market crashes, people sell cheaper than they probably should. There's a lot of unknowns. So retail drops, retail prices drop, interest rates drop to historically. So that is the time to buy. That is the time to buy. Like, where else are you going to get a discount like that in America? And then when the market goes back up, because historically, those usually only last like 18 months or so, 2, 3 years max. You hold tight and you hold strong and you do whatever you can to hustle, because when that market comes back like a vengeance, because it will, you're going to be in such a good position setting yourself up for success. Now, forget investing. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about your business and how money relates to it, right? Now, I want to be very careful. Again, just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. This is just thoughts that I have that I'm sharing with you. But what if you could generate two or three additional streams of income out of your business that you personally did not have to manage every detail of? Now, I believe that that creates healthy businesses. And I want to also address the mindset that I see in a lot of business owners in the garage door industry. First of all, this is kind of blue collar a lot, but also not, because there's a lot of blue collar guys out there who really appreciate their toys and invest in them and all that stuff. But think about this. I see more garage door guys with this like poverty mentality of I just need enough money to live. Anything beyond that is like a sin. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy for you to have that mindset. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for your wife. It's not healthy for your children, your grandchildren. Like, you're not doing anyone any favors. As a matter of fact, that's more like a cop out. That's a cop out that you don't want to do more or better, right? And a lot of times here's what's interesting is out of all the people that I've mentored or coached, the biggest thing people fear the most is success, not failure, success. Success is scary because it takes you down paths and roads that you have to make quick decisions on, and you got to be prepared. It's dangerous. You thought starting your business was dangerous. Well, most businesses fail because either they're scared to grow or they grow and they won't make decisions quick enough to keep the growth going. So there's this like beautiful balance that you got to find. But you meet people all the time who have 3, 4, 5 businesses. And I started shifting my thinking a couple years ago like, hey, listen, I don't want to be an owner of a garage door company. I want to be an investor of a garage door company. I don't want to be an owner of a marketing agency. I want to be an investor. I want to invest into it. I want to find people who can run these things. And then I want to provide them all the tools to be successful. And then I want to invest into them. And my goal is not to take one big sum. My goal is to take a little from all. So if I get paid from all the different things that I do, I don't suck one thing dry. Right. So is your mentality a poverty mentality, or do you have a mentality of wealth and greatness? Like, that's a decision that you've got to make. And if you do have a mindset of wealth and gain, I mean, think about this. I just had this conversation the other day. Could you imagine if you stacked 100K and then be like, what would you do with it? What would you do with 100K or 250 or 500 cash? Like, what would you do with it? If you won it, if you saved it, like, what would you do with it? Some people would save it. And I would tell you, like, keeping it in a savings account is probably not a great idea. But this savings account these days are getting like 4% interest, which isn't horrible, which is like a super low risk, um, medium reward for an investment. So I would spread it out, right? I would spread it out. I'd probably buy a little bit of gold. In an inflationary time, gold is great. I would probably invest it a little bit in real estate. I would probably buy some crypto. I would probably buy some stock, right? Like I'm going to spread it out. I'm not going to put it all in one place. Investing feels a lot like gambling sometimes. And starting a business feels like gambling sometimes. Growing feels like gambling sometimes. You know, when the government came out with the SBA loans at 3.25% interest, I was like, holy cow. Why 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 was it smart to take loans, not just that loan, but any loan for 3% interest as a business owner? Because if you're smart with your money, you can get bigger gain on that cash than you will be paying in interest. And that's what the whole game is all about. Like the whole game is, how do you invest money in the areas where you're going to get the biggest return on investment? And in a lot of cases, you need money to do it. So if you can get cheap money or free money and invest it and then get a bigger return on it. Now, what I'm not saying, don't hear what I'm not saying, because I know where some of y'all's minds are going. Oh, I'm just going to refinance my house because I can get a low interest rate and throw it all in crypto. At least one of you probably thought that. Do not do it. It's not a good idea. It's not smart. But if you took out a second mortgage on your home and invested it in some areas, like spread it out, where the return on investment was potentially 2 or 3x, and you had a really good idea with it, maybe that's not so horrible. Now, I know so many people that live strictly on loans. You take Grant Cardone, for example, like he's a good one. You got the author of um, what's his name? He does a podcast. He wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Now he's a little crazy and extreme for me, but he'll straight up tell you that he lives on debt. He doesn't even take an income. I've had people tell me that Elon Musk doesn't even really take a paycheck, he takes loans. So he goes to a bank and shows them his portfolio of stock that he has in Tesla and everything else. And these banks, because he's got so much and they want to do business with him and lend the money, it's almost a sure thing. So it's considered low risk. They're lending him money at like 2% interest, 3% interest, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then he lives off of that. He lives off of it, but he pays no taxes on it. And then there's a way that he pays that loan where he doesn't pay taxes. See, these are the things that us normal people, we got to learn and figure out, like, how does this work? Because escaping 30 or 40 or 50% taxes is worth paying 3 or 4 or 5% interest on. Would you agree? Taking a loan of $100,000 at 3% interest feels like a really good idea right now, being that the loans are now at 5, 6, 7, 8% for a commercial loan. So if you had a loan at 3%, could you not invest that money into your business and increase your revenue and net profit at least 6 to 10%? I know I did. we over doubled over the next, I mean, after investing that money into our business, we over doubled. Our bottom line got healthy. So I just want to take this moment to share that if you're not spending time learning about money and you're not facing your relationship with money and making sure that you're making good decisions for you and your family, that you're not setting yourself up for success, I want every single one of you to feel good and have money in the bank, have investments with multiple streams of income, and create generational wealth. And that begins with education and really facing your relationship. I used to think I didn't want a lot of money. I don't want a big house. I don't want nice cars until I get into a nice car. Then I'm like, "Whoa, this is nice." Till I walk into a big house and I'm like, this is nice. You got a pool too? That's great. I used to think I didn't want a lot of money because what was I going to do with it? I don't want a lot of nice things, which I really don't care about nice things. But what I will tell you is I'm bougie. I like comfortable clothes. I like, I don't know, I like nice food, right? I like doing things, making memories. I love going to Andretti's with my son. It's like our favorite thing to do. But you go in there, you're going to drop $200-300. Is that going to hurt, or is it just a drop in the bucket? One of the worst investments I make financially is going there and spending that money so that he can get his, tickets and then spend his tickets at that toy counter. But it's also one of the best. It's one of the worst financial decisions, but it's one of the best decisions because the joy that my son has is great. I don't like spending money on toilet paper, but I have to. So I just want to challenge you today. Spend time focusing on yourself and your relationship with money. And it's one thing not to have enough. It's another thing to have too much, not knowing what to do. I'd encourage you to focus on how to get to the too much. And it's okay. You're not going to be a bad person. It's okay to charge enough to where your employees can live a healthy life in an inflationary period when the market's crap and middle class is getting hit harder than ever. We still have to pay attention to the fact that our employees, a lot of them, are middle class. It's okay for you to cash a check, pay all your bills, and have a good bit left over. It's okay for you to go buy that big truck cash if you got it. That's all I got. I just wanted to challenge your thought process today and create a little bit of different mindset. And I hope it's been helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I appreciate you guys following along with the podcast. Like our Facebook page. Have a wonderful week.